The following is a work of fiction. Any resemblance to anyone dead or alive is purely coincidental. I have a lot to say tonight, and I'll try my best to explain everything that has been happening on the haunted grounds for the past few weeks, I would say. Hi, my name is Tanya, and I'm here to share my very paranormal, spooky experiences. Just to clarify, this honestly is the first time that I had to deal with something haunted. I never had any paranormal experiences up until this point. The house that I am currently in is my ancestral home. My mom grew up in this house. My mom's fupi, so my nani, also grew up in this house. And we're here because we wanted to say goodbye. She passed away about a few weeks ago, and she really wanted everyone to gather here. So that's why we all reunited to see her one last time. Now, the spooky experiences pretty much begin on the night of her passing. It started with hearing voices, I would say it's very cliched, really. My sister and I were staying at my nanny's old room. My sister pretty much fell asleep as soon as her head hit the pillow, where I was completely wide awake. I don't know when I fell asleep. My sister's loud voice woke me up the next morning, and I found a black ribbon right outside our door. I asked my sister about that, and she just shrugged me off. I freshened up. I went to the dining hall, and I saw a little girl who was standing across the dining table. Initially, I thought she was from the extended family, so I asked her who she was, what's her name. She didn't respond. I thought that she was just staring at me, but then I realized that she was staring behind me. So I turned around to see nothing, no one, and when I turned back, she was gone. Later that day, I was helping my sister out with organizing the old storage room, which hadn't been opened in a really long time. And while she was, busy organizing, I was staring at an old paintbrush that belonged to my mama, which was also sitting right beside a painting of a woman who seemed to be in her early to mid-20s. And my mind had completely zoned out. I was thinking about everything that had happened so far, about the mysterious black ribbon, the mysterious or vanishing little girl, the voice that I heard. And my sister's voice, that is what brought me back to reality. She was a little annoyed, which I understand completely. And she tells me that, if you told me that you would just be sitting here all day without helping me, I would just leave you outside, she said. And I got up. I had to help her out. And the storage room itself was also, to me, it seemed weird. Because on one side, it looked like a tornado went through. The other side was very neatly organized. And it's not because my sister was organizing it. We had just brought the bookshelf that my mama bought the other day. We had just brought that in. And we hadn't even started to keep the books inside the bookshelf. So yeah, to me, it was odd to see that. And I was helping her out. We would wipe the dust off of the books using a linen cloth, and then we would keep it inside the bookshelf. Then I casually asked her, who's the lady in the painting? She looked at me, very confused, and she asked me, what painting are you talking about? I jerked my head up so fast, I thought I would break my neck. So I looked right behind me where the painting was, and the painting was gone. I didn't see it there anymore. My mind was blank, and I was trying to form sentences, but I couldn't. And my sister, before I could say anything, tells me, Tanya, there is no painting. There has been no painting of anybody since mom's great uncle passed away. I remember hearing about him, but I have never seen any paintings or any photos of him. So I don't really know what the man looks like. And I couldn't help but wonder at that moment if I was the one who was looking too much into this. And then my sister tells me, Tanya, I understand how you were feeling since Nani passed away. We all feel pretty messed up about what happened. You know that Nani really loved to collect paintings. And I think your mind is just trying to process everything. So you're seeing things you associate with her. I could not believe what she was telling me. This had to be a cruel joke. First I hear voices, then I see vanishing people and objects, and now my sister thinks that there's something wrong with me. This is great. Suddenly the door closed, and it caused us to jump. Just to clarify, the doors are very heavy. They're very heavy wooden doors, and they're not gonna close without significant force. My sister was grumbling, monsoons. And then she closed the door and locked it. What I didn't tell her, that there is no wind. And to me, it felt like it was silence before a storm. Part of me really wanted to find out what was happening around me. It's basically morbid curiosity. The other part of me was telling me that the answers were not worth finding out. That night had to be one of the most bizarre nights that I have spent in that house. And that says a lot. I heard my name again. And I felt as if someone had sucked the soul out of my body. Why was this happening again? Should I check what it is? I ask myself. The voice stopped calling my name. And when I tell you, the room grew more silent. I don't even know how is that possible. I opened my eyes, and honestly, I expected to see a ghost, basically. And yeah, I know, y'all can call me crazy, but when fear takes over, you can lose your sense of judgment. I was pleasantly surprised to see that my sister and I were the only people in that room. I got up, I threw the blanket off of my body. My sister, meanwhile, as usual, was sleeping soundly without any care in the world. Sometimes I really wish I could do that too. It was pitch black outside, as usual. It only added to the eerie effect of the house. I slowly closed the door to our room as I came out. Everyone seemed to be asleep, and I think I was the only one who was awake at that time. Our room is located at the end of the hallway, and you could see the line of doors on either side as you walk through. The lights in the hallways were on, as always, but for some reason, it did not put me at ease. If anything, it only just made the hallway look creepier. I started to walk, passing all the rooms on my sides. Then I came to a halt as soon as I was in front of Nani's room. And I saw the light was on. But that was really odd because nobody was staying in this room that night. And then I thought maybe Ma was missing Nani. So I softly knocked on the door and the light immediately turned off, which was very odd. But then I wondered if I should just go in anyway. So I turned the knob and I opened the door. I called out for my mom, only to be greeted by silence. I don't know why, but my heart started to beat really fast. The more rational part of me was trying to push it away, but at the end, the other part of me won. All I could feel was dread. I tried to search for the lights, and I completely forgot that I even had a phone in my hands. Somehow I managed to turn on the lights and I saw that the room was completely empty. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Am I going insane? Is what I asked myself. I looked down beside me and I found an old diary on the bedside table. I was confused as to why was Nani's diary still here. Because it was odd to me, And then I wondered if someone tried to steal it, but then they were hiding in this room. I know it's absurd, but it is definitely not as absurd as having a literal ghost haunt this room. So I took the diary in my hands. Not gonna lie, I half expected something to happen, and to my surprise, nothing did. And then I let out a breath. Whew. I came out of the room. I was still trying to register what happened earlier. And there were so many thoughts that I was having, so many questions too, because if someone was hiding, why didn't they jump out to attack me? If they are being discreet, then how come they had the lights on? Should I warn the elders about this? Were our lives in danger? The diary in my hands was at least 50 years old. Nani's mom gave it to her. And I wondered, what valuable information this diary could hold. I guess the humorous part of me was thinking, oh, dark family secrets, information and hidden treasure. But everything that had been happening so far, all the weird stuff, anything seemed believable, honestly. Once I was back in our room, I went under the covers and turned my phone's flashlight on. There was no way I could sleep because curiosity wouldn't let me. With gripping apprehension, I opened the diary to be greeted by an unfamiliar face. It was a man. He seemed to be in his mid to late 20s. I wondered if it was one of our ancestors. I pushed my thoughts aside and I started to read the diary. And for the most part, the diaries were about his life, which seemed to be at the epitome of luxury, really. Women, money, looks, charm. This man seemed to have it all. But the question remains, why would anyone want to steal his diary? But then, as I started to turn the pages, I noticed that the later entries were, frankly speaking, a little morbid. As if he didn't write them. But then again, the cursives on the paper looked the same. And then I had a thought, or question. Was it possible that someone stole his diary and started to write their own entries? If so, why? But then one entry caught my eye that only stated this. Something happened tonight. The details will soon follow. I must take immediate action. The date was June 2nd, 1920. And it was June 2nd that day. I didn't know what happened that day. And what course of action was this man talking about? My eyes started to feel heavy, and I drifted off into a deep slumber. Soon. Rise and shine! You're late! Wake up! It's noon now! My sister screamed on my face. I sat up, and I looked like what would only resemble a disheveled raccoon. Freshen up now, kid. Lunch will be your breakfast. She said, and she started to pull the covers off of me. I blinked twice. I was trying to register my surroundings, and I realized that it was 11:30 a.m. And I was late. I got off of my bed, and I started to walk towards the washroom when I suddenly recalled what happened the night before. So I turned around to see if the diary was still on my bed. And to my surprise, it wasn't. I asked my sister if she had seen a diary, and she tells me no. And I was wondering as to if I had lost the missing diary. and I freshened up and I saw my khala. To those of you who don't know, khala is mom's sister. Anyway, I saw my khala, she was headed right towards Nani's room. Ma was standing outside and she was giving directions. So I asked her as to what's going on, and she tells me that they were cleaning Nani's room. So I went inside. I never knew how much stuff this room had until that moment. My sister was excitedly waving something in her hands, and she was exclaiming, "Tanya, look at this. Come quick." So I walked over to her, and it was Nani's diary. But I was surprised because I vividly remember taking it to our room. So when she sees that I am not saying anything, she asks me, "You're not excited about this at all? Not even a little bit?" So I told her that, no, of course, I am excited to see this. And I asked her if I could see it for a second. So she passed the diary to me. And what a tiny part of me was fearing would happen, happened. It was not the same diary. Part of me was hoping that this is the missing diary, but no, it was really Nani's diary, and I had officially lost the missing diary. On the outside, though, they looked exactly the same, and they even had Nani's name on them. I suddenly felt like I could not breathe anymore, and my eyes started to sting. No, this could not be happening to me. And I was asking myself if I was overreacting. And what is going on? I knew I needed a breather, and I knew I needed to get out of this building, even for a little while. So I muttered that I need to go for a walk, and I left the room. I did not wait for a reply. I didn't know how long we had to stay in this house. All I wanted to do is just go back home. I ran outside, and I was walking aimlessly. And anywhere seemed better than to be stuck in that haunted house, honestly. It was gloomy today, and there was a soft breeze that put me at ease, just a little bit. It seemed as if the sky matched my mood. Honestly, this house has the perfect setting for a horror movie. I walked towards the old swing, which is covered in rust. And I was thinking, how long has it been since anyone had used it? I heard footsteps nearing, and I turned around to see that it was my sister. And she looked worried, and she tells me that I need to head back because I hadn't eaten anything. And she patted me on the back. Next few days, though, were surprisingly uneventful. Nothing creepy happened. In fact, on our last day, Ma decided to check the old storage space one last time because she wanted to take out the old reading table and reuse it for the study room, which she had arranged to get renovated. This time, though, I did see a painting. It was of a man, and I knew who that man was. It was the same man inside. It was the same photo that I saw inside the diary. The same man. And I was wondering who that is. So my sister stands beside me and she asks me, do you know who this is? And I shook my head. No, I don't know who this is. And she tells me, I think this is Ma's great uncle. And she took the portrait in her hands. This is one of the last photos of him because there are not that many paintings or photos of this man. And then she tells me, or she asks me, I should say, do you know his death is still a mystery to this day? I raised my eyebrows at her. And I ask her, "You believe in mysteries?" "Well, yeah, if it's a good one, then yes," she tells me. "For example, the mystery of this man," she replied. "His life was mysterious. I even heard rumors that he was psychotic. He killed a woman, and he even, who he got pregnant, but he couldn't deal with the idea of becoming a dad. Also, soul of the said woman still haunts these grounds. Can you believe that?" She tells me, and she laughs. "I mean, it's possible that he was the ultimate playboy, as some put it, based on his diary," she said, using air quotes to say diary. So I asked her, a little horrified, shocked. It was a mixture of emotions I was feeling at that moment, to be honest. "Why did you make air quotes?" I asked her. "Because no one has actually seen the diary. I mean, there are speculations about this guy, but none has been proven thus far. Talk about outlandish theories," she said, and she rolled her eyes. "Anyways, kiddo, we gotta go. So help me move the stuff on this table, would ya?" She asked me, and she started to take the books in her arms. And I stared at the portrait. Why is there so much mystery in this house? How come we don't even know enough about our own family members? I shook my head, and I took the portrait in my hands. Half of me, once again, expected something to happen, but nothing happened. So I put it on the shelf beside the table, and I took the remaining books in my arms. Might as well keep myself distracted. The night was, thankfully, supposed to be our last night at that house. Relief would be an understatement to explain how I felt. Ma wanted to arrange a family dinner one last time before we left. And for the very first time, I was actually happy, since arriving at this house. The entire house that night was decked in lights, and it seemed as if the century-old house had finally come to life. I was walking around the house, greeting the elders, when my mom called me. She tells me if I could call my cousin, and that he was supposed to be here. So I called him, but he didn't pick up. And thankfully, I found my mama, who was on his way towards the house, and he tells me that my cousin, Aditya, would be here soon. And my ma didn't have anything to worry. I smiled, because it was so nice to see the family together after so long. I saw my younger cousins playing outside. Many of my aunts, my uncles had arrived, and they were running around with, trays of food in their hands. And it made the rather unsettling environment bearable. I was laughing at the antics of my sister and my younger cousins. And then I noticed the old male quarters. Despite more than a century old, it looked beautiful. It seemed very new, honestly, for being more than a century old. I guess I honestly thought Mom decided to have it renovated because it was open and the lights were on. I went inside and I felt as if I was taken back in time. Y'all, I could almost hear the chatter and the laughter of people. As I was walking around, I noticed the decor inside. There were portraits of various male family members, books inside, decorated wooden shelves. It was beautiful, really. And then my steps came to a sudden halt when I saw a woman. She was staring at one of the photos. So I went to her and I looked up to find that it was a photo of my mom's great uncle, who was smiling proudly at the camera. It was interesting, really, because I was wondering that how come I've never seen him in any family photos, really. So far, I've seen 3 photos of him, 2 of which were the same exact photos. And so I asked the lady if she knew who this was, and I didn't get a response. So I turned around to see that she was gone. I was a bit taken aback. Maybe she didn't hear me. But then I was wondering as to how did she even get here? Maybe she's a guest. But then why was she here? I didn't see her earlier because as far as I know, this was a family event. All of the people that were present right now are all family members, and she wasn't a family member. But then I remembered that I had to head back. So I rushed out of the building, and I was thankful that I did not lost my way. And my phone rang as soon as I came out. I picked it up, and I found a rather agitated Aditya. And he was yelling at me. "Kid, where have you been? I'm sorry I couldn't pick up, but I've been trying to call you for the past 10 minutes. It kept saying your number is no longer in use." This is odd. Very odd. So I told him, "I'm sorry, Bhaiya, I didn't get any calls. I was at the old male quarters and I didn't realize when time had passed." He responded, and I knew that he was puzzled just based on his voice. "Old male quarters? What were you doing there?" He asks me. So I tell him that, I guess Uncle had it renovated. It looks brand new. Dead silence. He did not say anything for what it felt like an eternity. Then he finally spoke out. "Tanya, that house hasn't been opened in the last 50 years. Uncle never had it renovated. In fact, he told me today he had no such plan. So I turned around to find an old house with its doors closed, surrounded by eeriness. I dropped my phone. I honestly felt like my head was spinning. Why was this happening? Why was this happening again to me? I somehow managed to pick up my phone and I could hear my cousin scolding me. He was angry. "Hello, Tanya? Where did you go? Go back to the house right now. You shouldn't even be out this late." I somehow managed to reply, "Yes, as you say, Bhaiya." I knew how he felt about Danny's death and why he was worried. He feared that someone wanted to cause us harm, so I didn't argue. I slowly walked back to the main house, trying not to scream. My cousin now would think that I'm making up stuff to ignore responsibilities. That seemed more plausible. After all, who would believe that these grounds are haunted? I was not mentally present during the family dinner or when everyone decided to share his or her stories. Niladi told me to pay attention, or at least pretend to, for this was the last night we were spending. I tried to take her advice, but I couldn't do it. Part of me was glad when Aditya Bhaiya was late, because I didn't know how the conversation would have gone exactly, honestly, despite my theories. He raised his eyebrows and said, "We need to talk about what you told me." And then said, "I know how stressful this time is for you, kid. Go to sleep. We can talk later. You need the rest." I definitely preferred later. Now I am sitting on my bed without an ounce of sleep in my eyes, and I am telling y'all as to everything that has happened, as everything that I've been through. And I hope at least y'all would understand that everything that has been happening to me was not in my head. It wasn't. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if this house is haunted. I don't know how to explain to my family as to why these grounds might be haunted. So I would love to know what y'all think, honestly, as to, your theories as to what could possibly be haunting these grounds. Because I feel completely clueless in regards to what happened. But I'm happy that I left. But I have so many unanswered questions. Like, why did I find the male quarters the way I did? Why was the house never opened? Who was the mysterious lady? Why was she staring at my ma's great uncle's photo? Was his life so much of a mystery that no one even knows if he actually killed somebody?